Hi, this is Jenny Wagner. I'm one of the co-founders of Global Focus Coaching, and I'm here to talk to you today about what kind of coaching we do anyways. This is probably the most common question I get asked at dinner parties. Are you a life coach? Are you a career coach? Are you doing executive coaching, leadership coaching? And I've been working on my elevator pitch for this for a long time because the long answer is really boring for the other person at the dinner party. The long answer is that interpersonal coaching is holistic, right? It's bringing in all of these elements, your career, your life, your leadership skills, mindfulness, all the things. And I think a lot of times when people are marketing themselves as a coach, they're told to do something called niching. So maybe let's say, this is not me, but let's say I'm a 55-year-old divorcee and I want to help other women who are recently divorced navigate that life transition, and I'm really passionate about working with that demographic. I might start calling myself a divorce coach. That doesn't mean that what I'm up to is just advising people, right, on how to get through a divorce. That's one common misconception about coaching, is that once we get really good at this is how we do the thing, I'm going to help everybody else navigate the thing when it comes up in their lives. And the thing about coaching is it's actually not about me as a coach. It's about helping the person across from me, who we often call the coachee or the client, to navigate something using their own wisdom, using their own creativity, using their own resourcefulness and wholeness. The ICF talks about coaching clients as being creative, resourceful, and whole, which is a little bit different from something like therapy, where there's this pathologizing element, and the person across from you is a patient, there's something wrong with them, we're trying to heal them. Coaching can be a healing and even therapeutic process, but we're starting from this baseline assumption that the client has all the answers that they need. That doesn't mean that the coach is not adding value. I think people can sometimes take this too far and say, I'm just here to help guide you, but I'm not going to offer my opinion, or I'm not going to be a person. I think that concept also is a myth, right? Objectivity is a myth made by people who, have historically dominated research fields, academic, usually older white men. So if we're thinking about, okay, I'm a person, but I'm not necessarily here to advise you or drop my wisdom on you. I'm just here as a person to engage in this dialogue with you. And we call the beginning of this process attunement. So what does it look like to have deep interpersonal attunement with another person? And how much can be unlocked just in that moment? That's one of the key things that we explore in our program, Coaching for Complexity, is how do we become fully present with a client? And what is the effect even just of that attention, right? I heard someone recently say that attention is actually the greatest form of love. And the things that we give attention to can be a form of devotion, right? Love or devotion. And we talk about this a lot with how much time and energy is going into maybe our social media, maybe our phones, and how much love are we pouring into those things, but not pouring into, our close friends and family members. So coaching is a way of engaging with another person and giving them really a deep level of attention and attunement. That's sort of the baseline of where we start. And then through that, we're engaging in a process. Usually it's a dialogue, a conversation where the coach will ask questions. They might just reflect back. They might just hold space for the client. And during that process, things start to unblock, right? There's a proverb in Wolof that says the best medicine for a person is another person. And we really believe at Global Focus Coaching that there's value even in somebody who's not trained as a coach, sitting with another person and trying to hold that role. We do an exercise with people who are new to our program called Coaching Without a License, where we send people into breakout rooms before they've had any training on how to become a coach. What's amazing is that even these conversations can be incredibly valuable for the person on the other side. I think people are often shocked But that's getting to this sort of key element that coaching is something inherently human. It's not something that was invented by a North American financial planner in the 90s, which is the story that you'll read some places. We're regrounding the history of coaching and talking about coaching as something that is old. It has many origins. It doesn't belong to one sort of dominant culture. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a transaction. I think a lot of coach programs are talking about coaching has to be something where money changes hands, where there's a written contract and agreement. And we do talk about ethical standards for professionalized coaching, but coaching can be happening in non-professionalized settings too. I think it's important to acknowledge that many of the people in our programs aren't necessarily on a direct track to becoming a full-time coach. They're not necessarily going to open up their full-time practice and just coach, and that's the only thing that they'll do. Some of them actually don't open up a practice at all, but they're taking coaching skills and they're applying them to other parts of their life. So maybe they're a manager or a leader. We work with a lot of educators. We work with people in healing professions. We work with people in the nonprofit setting. And we've seen and heard that coaching can have an amazing impact in these sectors. I know for me, coaching has integrated into my life in different ways depending on what life stage I'm in. So when I first started coaching, I was doing it kind of as a side gig to make extra money. And I was doing it through my own coaching practice on the side. Later on, I had a bout where I lost my job due to COVID. And I started coaching full-time for different companies. So I was freelancing as a coach and people would actually give me clients. And that was a time of my life where I had a new baby, first of all. I didn't have a lot of time or energy to be marketing myself, putting myself out there and trying to find clients. And so actually getting just paid at an hourly rate for my coaching services and having somebody pass me clients was really great for that time. I've used coaching in settings where I was working in more of an HR role. I've used coaching in my current work. I work in higher ed and I'm doing, everything from student advising to, supporting conversations between organizations and students, and kind of being in an intermediary role. And I'm not necessarily wearing my full coaching hat in all of those moments, but I've found that the skills I gained from my coach training are so transferable, right, to all of these different areas. So these are some things that we think about and we talk about. The coaching field has really exploded in the past 10 years, and especially in the past 5 years. And it's not formally regulated, which means anyone can call themselves a coach. There are a lot of people out there who say that they're a coach and maybe what they're really up to is they're a mentor or they're a consultant. There are people in the mental health field doing coaching. So there are many different types of coaching. There are also what we fondly / not fondly call Instagram coaches. To be clear, we have an Instagram. We're not saying that any coach on Instagram fits into this category. But you may hear people sort of using the word coach in kind of a snake oil salesperson way, saying, I'm going to coach you into growing your business and getting rich quick. And we would just caution you to move slowly with those types of promises. The ICF Code of Ethics specifically stipulates that we're not supposed to represent ourselves, right, as a get-rich-quick scheme or as a we're going to fix all your problems scheme, partially because coaching itself posits that a lot of the work is being done by the coachee. So there's not necessarily some magical shortcut to more ease or more money. And at the same time, I know for me, coaching has been one of the most empowering, liberating, incredible experiences that helped me get access to my own wisdom, my own imagination, my own creativity in ways that I know I would not have been able to do alone. And actually, my first experience with coaching was when I was being trained as a coach, because we did tons of practice, right, with the people in our coach training programs. So we were practicing coaching, and then we were also playing the role of the coachee in many of these practices. And so I was getting tons of coaching when I was being trained to be a coach. And I actually found that to be one of the most incredible aspects of doing a coach training program. So these are just some thoughts that I'm sharing about the coaching industry, about how to answer the question, what type of coaching do you do? My short/long answer to that is I do interpersonal coaching. And if you ask me what that is, I'll say interpersonal coaching is a deeply attuned process with another person where you hold space for them and engage in a co-creative dialogue. And this is a process that helps the person across from you access wisdom and imagination and creativity and resources that they might inherently have already. But they've been experiencing maybe some kind of blockage or stagnation around. And I will say that as a coach, I also receive coaching. I continue to find it incredibly valuable. And coaching is, it's different from therapy. It's not necessarily focused on the past and healing past trauma. It's really more short-term, future-oriented. And I find the coaching process continues to really resonate with me for that reason. So thank you again. I'm Jenny Wagner, one of the co-founders of Global Focus Coaching. I hope you'll check out some of our other videos on YouTube and take a look down in the description where we talk about our 9-month coach training program, Coaching for Complexity.